So recently something really bad happened to my old Ford. I love this truck. And I'm going to share that information with you guys. So hopefully the same thing doesn't happen to you. And if it does, you can take the appropriate action that I didn't take that cost me a lot of money. So recently Alex and I were on a road trip. We were coming back with a Ford Ranger on the trailer, and the water pump started leaking on the old Power Stroke. So I see my temp gauge getting a little bit weird, volts dropping off. I know something's wrong. We pull over, find out the water pump's leaking. I shut it down. Like, we're not going to go any further, man. I don't want to burn up this motor. We have Allstate Roadside Assistance, so I'm like, hey, we'll just call up Allstate. We'll get a tow truck out here, haul it home. We got another vehicle coming for the trailer. No big deal. So Mr. Nice Guy Towing shows up. That's who Allstate sent out. Hey man, this is me. Hey man, do you need me to stick around? Or do you want me to head home? He says, oh man, you head home. That way you beat me there and you can show me where to put the truck. Hey, cool, sounds good. So we get on the expressway. Like I said, we're only 15 miles, 20 miles from home. All of a sudden we see my truck, this truck, the F-250, on the tow truck flatbed, fly past us on the interstate. This guy had to be going 75. Whatever. We get off at Irish Road near our house, and he stopped at the light. We're coming down the ramp, and there's like a Chevy Cruze or Cobalt or something right behind the tow truck. And this guy takes off from the light, and this happens. Holy cow, my truck rolls right off of the flatbed, lands on the drive shaft, wads up the drive shaft. We pull up behind him. I run up there like, hey, what is going on? Oh man, my winch gave way. And I'm like, your winch gave way? What does that have to do with my truck rolling off the flatbed? Turns out, he didn't have any chains on it. He didn't have it strapped down anywhere. All he had holding this F-250 diesel on his flatbed was the winch line. And his winch spool somehow loosened up, slacked the cable. When he took off, my truck rolled off the flatbed, as you can see in the photos, wadded up the drive shaft, almost killed the people behind him. If this old girl would have rolled on top of their car, they'd have been dead. Right away, the guy's super apologetic, and I put myself in his shoes. He was like, I'm so sorry, Jim, that shouldn't have happened. He didn't even have any safety chains on his truck. I couldn't believe that. So, I'm so sorry, Jim, that shouldn't have happened. I messed up. I'll make it right. Whatever damage is done to your truck, I'll take care of it. Okay, great. I've made a ton of mistakes in my life, and luckily, most of the time, people have allowed me to make them right. So the fact that he owned it, he apologized, I'm like, hey, I get it. I don't understand it. That was a pretty blatant mistake to make, but mistakes happen. So as long as we get my truck squared away, that's fine with me. That was on Friday of Memorial weekend. So give him my number and stuff. He's like, please don't make an insurance claim because my boss will just make me pay for it, and if it goes to the insurance, it'll be more than if I just bought you the parts you needed and we fixed it together or something. Hey man, I understand. Sorry your boss is that way, but I do get it. So let's take care of it. The weekend goes by, I don't hear anything. Monday's the holiday. So Tuesday I call Mr. Nice Guy Towing in Clio, Michigan. I recorded the phone call. And I talked to a guy named Cameron. Manager, owner at Mr. Nice Guy Towing.
Yeah, what's going on?
We had a vehicle towed Friday night through Allstate AARP, and the dude didn't chain it down, and it fell off of the flatbed. It was a
drive shaft.
Yeah, it tore up the drive shaft and stuff pretty good. So I don't know if you want me to just handle it through that insurance or.
No, he said he'd take care of it, and then he said you never answered your phone.
never answered my phone. He never called me.
Yeah, he said he's been calling you all weekend.
He hasn't been calling me, man. And he said he had the thing. Yeah, he said he had an F-350 around there. When he's not sure if the drive shaft will fit and shit. But I don't like. This is a truck I use for work. It's not some old rusted out piece of shit. Like, I use it every day for work. And yeah, I don't. So yeah, he hasn't called me.
Right. Well, I mean, the drive shaft is what? Is it aluminum?
No, it's steel. No, it's steel.
Oh, it is a steel one.
Yeah, and it's a two-piece, but they're manufactured together, you know, and balanced together.
No, I mean, all of them are made the same, but yeah, I got you. Yeah, because, so is it a four-door? Is it a crew cab or?
No, it's an extended cab.
Cab? Alright. Because he said it was, is it the carrier, is it the actual,
It caved in the drive shaft. It broke the. It caved in the side of the drive shaft. It broke the counterweight off it, and wiped out the carrier bearing. So like,
So
yeah.
it did get the carrier bearing?
Oh yeah, yeah. All the way to the truck came down on it when it rolled off the flatbed.
All right. I guess she'll have to. Why were we towing it anyway? What happened?
The water pump started leaking. I was on my way home, and I didn't want to overheat it.
All right. Do you? Can you get me? Can you text me the VIN? I guess of the truck.
Sure.
And then that way, I think they should be able to get me a match for the drive shaft off that, I would imagine.
Okay. All right, I can do that.
Just the year, well, I guess they get it off the venture.
Yeah.
But I have it in my, if I go back to my app, I can find it anyway.
Yeah, I can text it to you for sure.
Alright. And try to get on that, I guess. Find you a drive shaft and carrier bearing, I guess.
Yeah. So like are we talking like a used drive shaft or?
Well, what year's your truck?
A 95.
Yeah, probably. That's what my insurance would pay for, is to use drive shaft anyway. So.
Why I don't understand why they would pay for a used drive shaft.
Because that's what they would, for a 95, that's what they're going to put on there, the used drive shaft. When they do, when they repair, all insurance companies, when they do any repair, that's what, like, so, like your body panels, they're going to quote used panels because they got to be painted, right? So they're going to quote junkyard panels because that's what your insurance company does. Every time I've ever done anything, they don't go, even though, honestly, it would be cheaper sometimes to go with brand new panels, like aftermarket shit.
Yeah.
Could be cheap. I don't know. I'll look either way. I'll see either way which ways. So.
All right. I'll send you the VIN.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Bye. Yeah. They're not trying to do nothing. I guess whatever. It's a good old truck. Like, I love this truck. It's got like a $6,000 stage 2 transmission and stuff. It's not. I guess that's beside the point. Whatever. So he says that he's going to look for a drive shaft. I don't hear nothing back. So 2 weeks go by and nobody has offered me a solution. So we go ahead and we file the insurance claim. The guy says we get an estimate from a local garage, and they say the drive shaft is smashed, carrier bearing is wiped out, and the pinion bearing is probably no good. Which, hey man, it landed on the drive shaft, you know, and slid off the truck. So okay, it's like $2,608 for the repairs. So we submit all that to the insurance company in hopes that, you know, we'll get something worked out. A week or so goes by, and the insurance agent through Allstate Roadside Assistance contacts us back with an email and says, after talking to the tow truck driver and the manager / owner at the tow truck company, we can't be 100% certain that the damage occurred during the service provided. Which made absolutely no sense to me. How we have photos of it falling off the truck. Like, we were right behind him. I don't understand how they could say that the damage didn't occur during the service provided. So we start digging a little deeper on Mr. Nice Guy Towing in Clio, Michigan, and it turns out this isn't an isolated incident. So I leave a review on Facebook and on Google, and then I get an anonymous phone call, and it's this guy, and he's like, hey man, I can't have my name involved in this, but I want to let you know, don't give up on this. Whatever you do, don't give up. Hold him accountable. He's done this to countless other people, and he gives me all sorts of information on who and when and where to contact somebody through Michigan DOT and Motor Carrier Division, and send all the information to them, which I did. And I got a response back from a Michigan State Police officer, and he says, hey, is it okay if I forward your phone number to a local state police DOT officer? I've heard about this guy before, this Mr. Nice Guy Towing, and we'd like to do something about it. At least, you know, some tickets or something. And I'm like, absolutely. Yeah, give him my number. I'll answer the phone for sure. Well, unfortunately, that was like 4 weeks ago. Nothing. So it seems like everybody is uptight about what this guy's been doing, towing people's cars, but nobody's doing anything about it. And I don't know why in the world Allstate would let them tow vehicles. Like, what in the world? There's a ton of complaints. I learned something else that's really important. If you don't physically visit a business, the way I understand it is they can have your Google review taken down because you've never been there. Well, I visited the business just so that wouldn't happen. And you can check out my review. Feel free to, you know, help me out or do whatever you want. But yeah, so where are we at? I wound up having to buy all the parts. It turns out this truck is an older truck. Around anywhere in Michigan, we could not find a drive shaft. And if you know anything about drive shafts, you can't just go piecing it together with some, you know, my front half and some other, like it's balanced as an assembly. And mine was in perfect shape, and I didn't want some crusted out turd that I had to put U-joints and everything in. I wasn't really wanting to do that. It wasn't my fault. I was willing to, you know, give a little on the time frame and how we did it, and whether or not I provided the labor to fix it. Like, I just wanted my truck back on the road. The water pump's no big deal. You know, that wasn't anything to do with them, but the drive shaft, you saw, it fell right off the truck. So yeah, what a mess this has been. I would like to share with everybody, if that happens to you, now in hindsight, I understand what we should have done. As soon as it fell off of the record, I should have called the police, got a police report. I should have called Allstate and said, you need to send somebody else out here to haul my truck, because these clowns just dropped my truck off their tow truck and tore it up. So I don't want them towing it the rest of the way home. But if anything like that happens to you, as much as I hate to, you know, call the police on somebody and take up their time with a simple report, that would have been the right answer in that situation. Then we would have had, you know, definitive proof as far as, I mean, the insurance company might have still said, no, we're not paying for anything. I don't know. I still find that crazy to believe. Be very careful with roadside assistance services like Allstate and who they send out. I have never in my life, I'm 44 years old, and I've never in my life seen a tow truck driver not put at least one chain on something to hold it down. Like if this would have rolled off going down the expressway, holy cow, what if he blew a steer tire or something and this thing just wound up a big lump of steel right on, you know, I-69 in Flint? I don't know, man. I posted some videos on some other social media, and people were commenting saying, you gotta sue them, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. I spent the first 3/4 of my life pretty angry person. It took me a long time to get over most of that anger. I wasn't sure how many months or weeks or days that like dragging this thing out was gonna take off my life. So I would like to hold them accountable. I wouldn't mind running into them somewhere, into a mutual combat situation.
Kano wins. Flawless victory fatality.
And that would be, there's still some fight in this dog. But I couldn't really see, you know, so we had a new drive shaft built, new U-joints, new carrier bearing. I did the pinion bearing, and I'm out about $1,250. Now that's without any labor. Not to mention the 3 weeks that I was waiting on a response for them, that I couldn't use my truck that I use every single day, picking up motors, transmissions, vehicles, like just using it, you know. We've got a few cars around here, but this thing does all the work. So I missed out on all that too. I would just like to say, if anything like this ever happens to you, make sure and go the extra mile and get a police report, have them send out another tow truck and handle it that way. It wasn't until after all this happened that I started looking into Allstate's roadside assistance reputation with damage to vehicles, and it's not great. I won't be using it anymore. I'll go with a different provider and try that out. And if you live in Michigan anywhere and somebody tries to send out Mr. Nice Guy Towing in Clio, or from Clio, Michigan, or Saginaw, Michigan, I would be very careful about having them tow stuff. I wouldn't let them tow anything. I wouldn't let them tow a tricycle from the garden to the garage. You saw it. I mean, who doesn't chain a truck down, like a, what does this thing weigh, 7,600 pounds? Who doesn't chain a big old truck like this down to the deck when they're hauling it? And just oh, hey, here's the kicker. He didn't even put it in park. It was still in neutral. So no parking brake set, not put it in park. It's in neutral on the back of a flatbed doing 75 miles an hour down I-69 right through Flint, Michigan. Luckily, it was late at night. So that's how it all went. Be sure to let us know in the comments below if something like this has happened to you. I'd like to hear your story, especially if it was by the same company, Mr. Nice Guy Towing. And hey, thank you guys for watching.